Hello and welcome to the Long Talk here on New Zealand Sports Radio. And yes, we are using Zoom today because all the other technical issues. And so you can see who I've got as my guest even before I kind of introduce her. But welcome to Cheryl Smith, Black Fern, and also Northland Farah Palmer Cup coach. How you doing?
Oh, g'day, Paul. I'm good, thank you.
Cool. Well, this is take two. We tried this the other day, and technical issues had to stop after about 10 minutes. So you know the first question, which is, what's your first sporting memory?
My first sporting memory, most probably a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock in the freezing cold, going to play a bit of netball.
Dear me! Wow, you make it sound so appealing. And also, we chatted last time. You're also another one that's got up in the middle of the night with your dad to listen or watch All Blacks tests as well, overseas tests. Yeah.
Yes, no, I was one of those kids rugged up in the middle of the night. They can't get up to catch the bus in the morning, but crikey, could get up to watch a test match at 3 o'clock in the morning with a cup of Milo.
The Milo and the rug, that's fantastic. Did you have fingerless gloves back in those days? Because I tell you, it's that's what I'm going with now. And so playing netball up in Northland, where you still are now. Did you? So when did sort of rugby first come into your life, or actually playing it? Actually, first off, you played it in the backyard with your brothers, but when did you actually formally start playing?
I never formally started playing until later in life because rugby wasn't allowed in schools when I was going to school for girls. So basically I was a top netballer, and my local netball team was short of players one weekend and asked me to come along for a game. So I went along and threw away the netball skirt and kept a pair of rugby shorts. So
and that was up in Northland.
Yes, it was in Kaikohe here in Northland.
Where you are now president of the rugby club.
Correct.
So you've so I've done some research. This is scary, isn't it? So could you, playing up there, did you? What kind of opportunities were there for women in rugby? And was Northland in a provincial championship? Was that enough to get you to the Black Ferns, or did you have to go down to the big smoke to kind of progress your career?
Yeah, basically, Northland, we had a strong women's club competition when I was playing. They had a Northland team. I made the team, and for me, it was just by mistake. One of the former Black Ferns and a very close friend now, Lawissa War, was up here holidaying and banged into each other, and she said, would you mind coming, do you want to come down to Auckland to see if you can actually make the team? So I came down and played for College Rifles. And
so how many years had you been playing before you came down?
2 years.
So, wow, 2 years. This is I mean, there's meteoric rises, and then there's kind of hitting a rocket ship and going and climbing through the ranks. So down at College Rifles. So did you move down here for work or to study, or?
No, I basically moved down for rugby.
You moved down to
see if I could make it into the Black Ferns. But I was lucky enough before I moved, I made sure I had work, and I was lucky enough to get a job with Ngāti Whātua up in Bastion Point as a medical receptionist up there, and they were very supportive. Basically, in my 10 years that I was in Auckland, through my whole rugby career, so I was very lucky.
So 10 years, all of them with College Rifles, or did you change clubs?
No, I stayed 2 years with College Rifles. Then the trouble at College Rifles, there were all the Black Ferns playing, and I actually changed positions. So the incumbent loose forward for the Black Ferns was at College Rifles, so I felt like I had to move away just to get good game time. Mm-hmm. So I went to suburbs, and then from suburbs I went to Ponsonby, where I actually ended my rugby club rugby there at Ponsonby's for the Phillies. So
Wow. So, yeah, some clubs there that have got some fierce rivalries as well between them. There's let's be honest there. So, and you're right. The college rifles have got a fantastic history with players, and I've played touch rugby, or just Parents Teachers Association touch rugby at college rifles, and yeah, above the bar they have basically it's packed full of photos of Black Ferns and All Blacks that have played for that have played for college rifles. So I'm assuming your photo is probably one of the ones up there.
Yes, right above the bar. Also, next time you're in there, just have a look up. It'll be Cheryl Walker, my maiden name. So I'm right above the bar if they haven't moved us.
Well, they did redecorate the bar because they now have college rifles wallpaper on one of the walls. That was the for the Lions tour.
Oh, okay.
That was all done. So that was a couple of years ago now. Because I remember going back there to watch a mixed ability rugby game that was there. So a side was touring over from Wales.
Yeah, no, it's a great club. Like, totally recommend it to anyone who moves to Auckland. I loved it, and that was the only reason I moved. It was because I needed to play. I most probably would have stayed at college rifles.
So, did they have the Astro pitches then, or were they still playing grass?
No, it was still grass.
Okay, so for those who don't, we're getting into sort of niche territory here. Yeah, college rifles now have got 2 Astro pitches, not grass, and it isn't a bowl. So I guess it was a bit of a mud pitch, a mud patch from time to time.
Those were my rugby days, and the the good old days.
Oh dear me! And for those of you that do watch different parts of the other shows on here, Ashwin, who hosts our cricket show, he's a coach at Subbies on the cricket side with the kids there. So yeah, another club that I know that's sort of down sort of just south of Mount Roskill. Much more open pitches, a bit less muddy and nicer quality. In your day?
Oh, very much. Yes, no, we were just the good old grass, and you hope that it didn't rain too much and it'll get muddy. But that was rugby. That was sport back in the day. You loved it.
And then on to Ponsonby. And let's for those that don't know, in Ponsonby is the club of people like Rico and Kerry Winey nowadays. Also, I'm trying to think now. No, Caleb. Irani Clark. They're out. He's out. Out wide, but yeah, Ponsonby again, a place where a lot of the Auckland and Blues players will be club members of. So yeah, so that's probably what the richest club in Auckland, Ponsonby.
I wouldn't be able to comment on that, Paul.
I mean, sort of facilities wise, club room exactly. But yeah, so three big things. So how long did it take you to break into the Black Ferns after you moved down?
2 years. So basically, my second season in Auckland, I became a Black Fern. So I made it to the 1998 World Cup. So the year before, we couldn't raise the All Blacks down in Carisbrook, when Carisbrook was still a park. So that was my debut. So and then off to the World Cup in '98. So I suppose I transitioned quite quickly into the big game.
The big league, yes. So, folks, if you don't make it to being an international after starting a sport after 4 years, just give up. You're going too slow. Wow, that's. Did you have to pinch yourself along the way, or was that, or for you was that just kind of just normal, or did you realise you were kind of climbing the ladder very quickly?
Oh no, I just trained, played hard, and hopefully got selected. So I suppose it wasn't that's why I moved from home. It was that was the reason why I moved, was to try and make the team. So I just trained and done everything possible to get myself seen, I suppose, and I was lucky enough to get chosen.
And back in those days, I mean, now the Black Ferns play something approaching sort of like well, they obviously have the double header, the double headers against the Wallaroos. They now have the Super Cup where they play 5 games against the top 6 teams. So they're getting something like 7 or 8 test matches a year, which is still way down on the mend. But back in your day, that would have seemed like a lot of rugby, wouldn't it? You get 1 or 2 games a year outside of World Cup.
Absolutely. Like I played 21 test matches in my whole 10 years from 97 to 2003. I played 21 test matches. So that's showing you how many games we played. So it wasn't that many. So yeah, things have changed, but still it was great. You know, Paul, like I wouldn't change anything. It let me tour the world. I was fortunate enough to go to 2 World Cups, and the second one was in 2002 in Barcelona, Spain, to play in the Olympic Stadium, as I said to you on Friday, where Muhammad Ali shot the arrow. So when we went there for a team run, we tried to recreate that atmosphere. Then we tried sprinting down the 100-meter track, and all our coach said was, "Don't you dare pull a hamstring, because it's the World Cup final in a couple of days." So
did you time yourself?
No.
No. Okay.
We just imagined hundreds of thousands of people in the stadium roaring as Carl Lewis and co were steaming down the 100-meter track. So and so what tours outside of World Cups did you get to play anyone apart from just Australia, or did you do you get to tour England, Ireland, those sort of places, or even the States? Every year we were quite lucky. We had a tour to Canada, so we played Canada. It was mainly Australia. We would play England. We played England before the 2002 World Cup. They came out the season before and beat us. So, and that was the first time that we had been beaten. So we really never got much rugby in between. It was mainly just Australia or a tour to Australia, to Canada. So we never really got much game time before the big World Cups every 4 years.
And what was the step up like, did you find, between Auckland Club Rugby and international rugby? Because I mean, there's not even, and back in those days, the Farah Palmer Cup didn't kind of or didn't exist. When there was some provincial.
Yeah, there was a like a national championship that we played in those games, because we had Auckland, Counties, Waikato, Wellington, Canterbury, and Otago, and they were really tough games leading into New Zealand. So we were quite lucky to have those games every year. I was fortunate enough to be with Auckland, and we never lost the game for the whole 10 seasons that I played for Auckland. So everyone wanted to knock us off the block, I suppose. But no, it was really good competition. And even for every year, you know, we were always in good stead, and it's really good to have the Farah Palmer back up and running, and actually having Northland in the competition as well, like the, I suppose, the rural sub-unions, I suppose you could say, except for the big city sub-unions.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, but back then only 6 provinces only 6 unions had teams, and now, by the sounds of it here, you didn't lose very often. So 10 years of constant winning with Auckland. Out of your 21 test matches, well, you've mentioned 1 loss, and since I'm getting that's probably what that was your only loss while you were international. Yes. So, they say you learn more from losing than from winning. Did you not learn much, or how did you? that is a phenomenal record over 10 years, not losing a provincial game, only losing 1 test match. At club level, I'm guessing with college rifles and Ponsonby and something, you were in the finals or winning the competition most years as well.
Yeah, so well, I think it was more of we always wanted to try and better ourselves. Like, yes, that old saying, you learn from your losses, but even you can learn from your wins. You can always better yourself and make things make moves better, more crisp. But I was always finding I was still always learning, even though we were always winning. There's always something you can learn, even though you've won a game of rugby. The coaches seem to always find something that we never done right, even though we won.
And what kind of support did you have around on the coaching side? I mean, if we look at kind of the All Blacks. I mean, they've got a head coach, they've got a scrum coach, they've got a backs coach, they've got a defence coach, they've got a physio, they've got a couple of physios, got a couple of strength and conditioning guys, somebody who makes some coffee, a person who brings us sandwiches, does the washing. What kind of support network did you have around yourselves at, say, Auckland level, and then also the Black Ferns?
For Auckland level, basically we just had a head coach, assistant coach, manager. For the Black Ferns, when I was playing, was the same, but we were classed as high performance players. So we had a gym membership, we had a trainer who trained us, we had a strength and conditioning guy with us in the Black Ferns. So we had a program that we had to do every day.
Yep.
So I suppose we had support, a physio, a doctor who was on tap if we got injured, we were straight in. So we had good support around us, I suppose. But laundry wise, if we were on tour, that was the new girls. The new girls on the block had to do the laundry. So, and yes, I've done it myself. I've been on laundry duty on tour, so everyone does it. So no, I think I can't complain. I was quite happy with what we got.
It's not about complaints. It's just about showing people that can kind of say, okay, is the skill level the same? You kind of well, look, the skill level's not going to be the same if you don't have a specialist skills coach, if you don't have a specialist line-out coach, a specialist scrum coach, then if you can't train during the daytime because you're having to hold down a full-time job as well, there's going to be a disparity in skill levels between a fully professional team and what is a semi-amateur or semi-pro or amateur team as well. So it's just understanding those differences. And people need to what you see out on the pitch isn't just the 15 players, is it? It's the whole package of the support staff, the players, the families that can help them in that time.
And families is a big thing, especially when I was playing. Like, because as you said, Paul, we still worked full time. We had shift workers as well. We had all walks of life, but we all still worked. So I was up 5 o'clock every morning just to fit in my gym session before work, and then after work it was a running session. So how we done it, I don't know, but we done it because we loved the game. And yes, now I suppose what we've done in the past, you're starting to see now the current Black Ferns are starting to get things now, like they're getting good support now. So yeah, it was tough, but my father always said you don't need to play if you don't want to. So when I used to come home and groan about things, he said, well, you don't need to play if you don't want to. So that sort of made me quieten down and just, okay, keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, it is nice when I tell the story. When I tell the story to the kids when I go into schools and they can't believe that, oh my God, you done that every day. And I said, yes, for 6 days a week for 10 years.
I had a chat with Joe Edwards a couple of years back, and did a week in the life of a rugby player, and he would spend most of the week basically recovering from the weekend, he'd come in, they'd do an analysis session, he'd go get a massage. Next day, come in, look at skill sections, do some professional development, go get a massage, and all of that was obviously was provided by the club as well. So it's all good well saying, yep, okay, we're provided with a strength and conditioning coach, but there's all other sides of it, other pieces, and just not being able to sit on the couch for 2 hours and relax, just let your body recuperate around all this. How careful were you with your nutrition and things, and how aware were you back then about how important nutrition was for your performances?
Oh, yeah, well, we had a nutritionist as well that we could see when we wanted to. So for me, I suppose I was quite lucky growing up. Like I had my mother fed us pretty good coming off a farm. So to me, I sort of had that food growing up. So I'm sort of used to eating well, I suppose. So it wasn't a big major for me. But yeah, like, and I found myself a Chinese masseuse. So to me, a masseuse was just as important as training. So I would see him once a week, and I think he saved me in my 10 years of rugby. Like, what he could find, he would press different parts of me, and he'll go, Cheryl, you've got a slight tear there, but if I treat you, you'll be right to play. Like, I didn't even know I had it, but I think without having him, I'm very lucky I got through a whole rugby career with no major injuries, and I put it down to seeing this Chinese masseuse every week. I just made it part of my training schedule, I suppose, my well-being.
And that's it. And that's it. A lot of people are saying will mistake, like especially on the concussion kind of pieces, are like, oh, it's up to the player. If the player feels good, let them play. But as you just said there, if with physical bits, you don't actually necessarily know all the injuries that you've got, and sometimes players do need protecting from themselves and trying to push themselves too hard. Do you find?
Oh, absolutely. You know, yeah, you get, and because you as a player, you just want to play as well. So it's really important that we do have that support, because some players will just keep playing even with concussion. It's really serious, you know, and they don't realise it's not the now when you get concussed, it's the years later that you find the trouble from concussion. But yeah, I was very fortunate that I would speak up. Like, for me personally, like, I always thought, you know, it's just the game. Like, the game will always be there, and if you do miss out, you miss out. But at the end of the day, you've got to look after yourself, and I think that's a big push I do with players now as a coach. If you're not feeling well, you've got to say it. Like, don't feel that you have to play if you can't give 100%, because at the end of the day, the game will be still here next week or next year, and hopefully you can still be part of it. That's how I look at it anyway. It's a bigger picture.
And also, if you're not playing at 100%, you're not able to support your other teammates as well as you want to. So hence you're not letting your play. By standing up and talking about it, you're actually supporting your teammates rather than, you're not letting them down by not being out there, I guess is the other message to try and get across to players.
Yeah, you're not letting the team down, because it's worse off if you play injured and someone gets past you and scores the winning try or something because you couldn't get there because you were only at 60%, you know. So yeah, it's the big picture, you know. So
it's been interesting chatting with some of the people like Dean Kenny, who's ex-All Black, and Warren Brosnan back there was Springbok, talking about how when they were traveling, staying in motels and things like that on tour, what not the sort of 5-star hotels and like they do nowadays, what were your travel trips down to, say, Dunedin and Christchurch like? I mean, obviously you flew down, but did you have to fly back the same day, or did you fly down in the morning and then play the game, or did you actually get to go down earlier, stay in hotels and prepare properly?
Yeah, no, we were quite lucky, especially for Auckland. We would fly Friday and we won't come back till Sunday. So we were quite lucky. So we were very well looked after as Auckland. So we would take half a day on Friday, fly down, play Saturday, and come back Sunday. So, and I think that's most probably because of flights. I'm not too sure. I don't know if they would have made us fly back on Saturday night if we could. I'm not too sure, but yeah, we were and we stayed in really nice accommodation. Like, yes, it wasn't 5-star, but you know, it was comfortable.
It was comfortable and clean, and that's the important.
Yeah, exactly.
And did you have all post-match dinners after all with the opposition and things like that after all the games, and just like the men kind of do as well? And did you get a blazer at each of the 3 clubs, or did you, or not, or didn't that happen back in the day?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, no, we never got blazers actually. For playing for I most probably never stayed around long enough to get a blazer at one club. So that's most probably why I never got one. But I've got to admit, that's sort of what I really enjoyed about rugby compared to netball, was that after match, you know, getting to know players. That's what I really enjoy about rugby. With netball, you play your game and you go. But with rugby, you come in to that club rooms and that, you know, you get to know one another and you end up having mates for life through it. And that's one thing I've really taken from rugby, is that I've got friends all over the world that I could just ring up one day. I'm coming and I've got a bed got a pillow to put my head on for a couple of nights. So, but yes, no, it's really great. We always had after match functions.
And did that continue at the Rugby World Cup, or was that the one time when you didn't have after match functions because you've got another game?
You know, we still had functions after each game, but it wasn't too long. You know, I suppose it was just a formal after match, and then we would go back to our hotels and do recovery and get ready for the next game, especially in the pool games. You know, we were playing every 3rd day, so you sort of had to look after yourself for the big goal of the final, hopefully.
And that is also one of the things about women's rugby, is that the turnarounds between games are much shorter. Partially that's because there are very few teams that are professional, and so hence getting time off work is difficult, and also just fitting these tournaments in. Quite often we've seen in recent years that the Wallaroos and the Black Ferns will play on a Wednesday, then play again on the Saturday, which, if you ask the men to do that, the answer is going to be a big no. Let's be honest. So yeah, that turnaround is impressive and requires, and obviously you're not going to be able to get back up to the same level again, are you, 3 days later, as opposed to a 7-day turnaround? Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't know how we done it, but I suppose we carried a big squad to the World Cup, but still there were a lot of us playing back-to-back games. But you just done it. It might be just a woman's mentality, Paul. They just get stuck and do it.
Just get stuck in and get it done.
Yeah.
And then after playing rugby, when you retired, did you move straight back up north, and that was it? Kind of like, yeah, Auckland is just for rugby. I'm not sticking around. I'm going back to the farm, back up north. Is that what happened?
Yes, basically. I just woke up one morning and decided I didn't want to do this anymore, and rang the New Zealand coaches at the time and just said, I'm going to retire. I'm feeling tired, I suppose. I just didn't have that go to be getting up at 5 o'clock anymore. And so they sort of said, oh, that's a shame. Would you just take a year off and look at coming back? And I said, oh no, I can't do that. If I can't do it now, I don't think I will return. And I came home back to good old Otawa Hokianga.
And did you carry on playing club rugby up north?
No, basically, once I left, I never put on the boots ever again.
You did Richard McCaw, retiring at the top. And then, so now you've been 15 years as a community sports advisor for Sports Northland.
Yes.
What does a community sports advisor do?
I basically help communities with projects that they are doing within towns and trying to help them to give them the support for the project to come to fruition. And also sports clubs, just helping them with any sporting issues they may have, administration, membership, and trying to get their facilities upgraded as well. So it's a bit of everything. It's quite interesting. So it's never the same thing every day.
So those projects, are you talking mainly sort of infrastructure projects to provide facilities, or are you talking, could they be projects to set up new teams?
Yeah, it's infrastructure products, or just down to something so small a community group in town want to be doing. Like there's one in Kaipui there. We built a new basketball court, outdoor basketball court, because basketball's really taken off up here in Northland, and we got the whole community in behind, and now we've got a brand new outdoor full-size basketball court at the local park, and kids are using it all the time, even parents. So it's great to see.
It's basketball is one of the fastest growing sports here in New Zealand. And for those that don't know, this Thursday the NBL draft is happening, and yours truly, myself, I am in the draft. I've nominated myself. I can see you laughing that you don't think I'm a first round pick.
Oh, you never know. You never know there, Paul.
You have to be in it to win it. There's over 500 people going for those 84 places. I must admit, yeah, it's unlikely I'm going to get selected. But hey, I can say I was part of a professional draft. And it's going
to be exciting to see, actually, the new competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to that to that competition. I did an interview with the CEO of NBL, and it's going to be interesting to see, again, obviously it was designed to be behind closed doors, so it's going to be interesting to see how that changes with the COVID levels. And we're expecting an announcement today around whether we get to level 1. How have you found the community up there? How has the sports side of it been impacted by COVID? Are you concerned for some of the clubs and their viability up in your area?
Yes, it has affected a lot of clubs up here, just due to work and financial. A lot of teams aren't fielding teams this year because of COVID, because they've just gone back to work. Some are uncertain if they have still got jobs, so it's going to change it, and hopefully we will get ourselves back on our feet again. But it's a real game changer. Old COVID's done to the whole world, actually.
So, and we're not just talking rugby here; we're talking across all the sports you cover with that. So, so it's all good and well then, by the sound of saying, "Oh, we'll just push the season back and we'll start the club season next weekend after next and run it through." But you're saying that some people, because the jobs that the players have, they're not going to be available for the clubs, and so some clubs aren't going to be fielding teams. That's sad to hear.
Absolutely, because a lot of guys have said, even girls have said, they can't play this year due to shift work now, because they lost so much work prior to COVID that the organisations are going to go shift work. So that means 24/7. So be no more weekends for them, which is quite a shame. But at the end of the day, you need jobs to survive, and hopefully sport will come back with a vengeance next season. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember talking with someone in the Thames Valley area, and he said that one of the main employers in town is a meatworks, and the boys that get time and a half at weekends or get extra shift pay at weekends if they work the weekend, which means obviously they want the extra pay, and hence they can't turn up for the rugby, or they have a shift on Thursday or Tuesday nights when the training is, they can't turn up. So I guess call out to all employers is please be flexible with your with your employees that want to play sport. Please make it available for them. With your club, Kakiho, are you fielding a side this year, or are you going to have to take a year out?
Yeah, well, we've actually lost our senior men's team due to COVID, but we're running our women's team and our league teams, and we normally have a whole heap of junior teams as well, and we've lost all our junior teams bar 2, and that's just, and you don't blame whānau, they don't want their kids out there playing, so it's going to be a rebuild for us, and hopefully next year everyone will be back rearing to go. So to me, it's a shame, but the big picture, it's the right choice. You know, as I said earlier in our interview, sport will always be there, and it's about just making sure our whānau are well and connected.
And I mean, for folks saying this, I'm assuming your club is like a lot of other clubs where funding comes in a number of sources, but one of the main, obviously you have your subs, but two other main sources of funding are gaming funding, which has been reduced, and secondly is money over the bar. Now, if you're having less, if you've got one less team, that team's not having a couple of drinks after training on a Thursday night. It's one less game for fans for supporters, to come down and club members come down and watch and then come into the bar. So not only is it the fact that you're not fielding as many teams, but it's going to impact the club financially as well, in the fact that you're just not going to have the same turnover that you would normally have.
Yeah, great, Paul. And we are taking a bit, I just know with my club, we are going to be taking a big hit this year, like just with fees alone. That was a major revenue for the club, and also the gaming agencies. But at the end of the day, like, everyone's taking a hit. So we've just got to be resilient, and hopefully everyone will come back next year, and we will just rebuild. And Kaikui's quite hearty. Everyone gets in behind the community here in Kaikui. So I feel next year we'll be back on our feet in no time.
Good. Also another point is, because you were the season shifted, are you expecting to have any problems about clashes of trying to get pitches? Because if you overlap with, say, the cricket season, are some of your community grounds up there, maybe not for the rugby team, but for the other sports, do you think you're going to have a bit of a clash with sort of cricket people and football and rugby all wanting to try and play at the same time?
Yeah, well, we're quite lucky because we've got our own fields, and it doesn't actually get used for anything else but rugby. And on the other side, there's football, and we just started cricket up last summer. So, but we can play cricket at one of the high schools here in Kaikui. So we're quite lucky. We've got a bit of green space that we can actually utilise. And the good thing about a small town, everyone's willing to work together. So, we just make things work, compared to a big city where it's cricket time. There's no sharing of facilities, but we're quite lucky in a small community. Everyone's willing to help one another so they can play their code as such.
Yeah, it's interesting that your rugby club has rugby and rugby league, both teams, both in the same club. For people who are listening from England, that would just never happen. You're either a league person or a rugby person. The two do not mix. So yeah, it's interesting. Do you have players who will play in both? No, not so much. Okay, because I have heard in Pacific Islands that Saturdays when you play union and Sunday you play league. And basically they play twice at the weekend, which is just nuts, but hey, they enjoy it. So let's come on to the final bit. You're obviously head coach of the Northland ladies team last season, your first season in the Farah Palmer Cup. How did the ladies take to it? Did you feel you had a successful season being a first year team?
Oh, absolutely. Like for the first time for Northland to have a club competition in years, and to actually field a Farah Palmer team for the first year was amazing. And we were quite lucky. We had a couple of experienced players, but the rest of the girls were all new. And to make it to the semi-finals for the first year was a huge achievement for these girls. Like, we had girls travelling 3 hours just to come to training. You know, that was one way to training, then drive home again. Like the sacrifices these girls made last year for the team and for us to get to where we were was great. And this year the girls have really worked hard, and also Northland Rugby Union have really backed us this year to actually get a training program for the girls. So our girls had been training since February, and then when COVID came, sort of put a stop to that. But girls were training by themselves and sending in what they had done every day, and it just this year it's really showed that the interest of women's rugby. Everyone wants to play for the Codies now, the Northland Cody team. So, which is amazing. But it was all through those girls from last year, the team from last year, the hard work that they had done, and it showed that making the semi-finals, you know, we were a team to watch out for.
Yeah. So how do you get involved? I mean, I've read an article where you've said that you have no sort of formal coaching badges. We mentioned that you kind of coaching from experience. How did you get involved? How did you become the head coach of the Northern side up there?
Well, I was coaching, just coaching local, and there was an application what came out, and I thought, I'll just chuck my name in the hat, and had the interview, and was lucky enough to get the job. So I think it was most probably my experience of being an ex-Black Fern and coaching, because I've coached men as well at a club level. But yes, so I've got no certificates, but I suppose I've got the experience and the skills, the life skills of rugby, and that's helped me to get to where I am today.
And so do you take the forwards, and Susan Dawson, she's your assistant coach, or was last year? Do you split it forwards and backs, or how do you?
So last year I took the backs and Susie took the forwards. This year we're really lucky. We've got I've got 2 assistants coaches this year. We've got a man, Guy Murray Webb. He's come on board, so he will be taking the backs this year. Susie will be taking the defence and forwards, and I'll be overseeing it all. So having one more person on board is going to be great for the team, I feel.
Sitting back with your coffee and your Tin Tam watching them do it all. Now, when you say you've got the job, it's not like Warren Gatland or Dave Rennie becoming the Wallabies coach and taking a $75,000 pay cut just by 30% over 3 months. When we're talking job, it's a volunteer role, isn't it? Really, it's not actually a paid kind of thing,
No.
and that's the how the setup still is at provincial level.
Yep, it's very much volunteer, Paul. So still working full time and coaching after hours. So still doing while I was playing. Still, so I've just changed from being a player to a coach, and everything is voluntary. But yeah, so it's very busy.
So if you're in the stands and shouting at people, remember that they're all volunteers. Yes, they're not. This is not their day job. This is not what they get paid for.
Yes.
I'm just looking out the window at the rain, thinking my washing's getting wet.
Yeah.
So be on the same, folks. Of this, that provincial level. It is fantastic that the Northern has got a team going. Now, this year it's going to be an extra challenge because last year you were in the championship. This year it's a north-south split, so you're going to be playing against the Premiership teams such as Auckland and Counties and Waikato next year. Looking forward to the extra challenge also this year.
Well, absolutely. Like, I think for me, for the team, it's especially the girls, you're going to be playing against the best, and if you want to see if you can make it to the Black Ferns, this is what you're up against. And for me, that's what I had to do as a player. Like, I wanted to go and play against the best to see if I was worthy of making the team. So I'm really excited. Like, it's great. Like, we weren't even going to be in the competition to start with, and now we're in it and we're playing against Top Gun. So I just think it's great, and I'm sure the girls are raring to go, and it's going to be a great experience for them. And for me, it's when we have home games, people are going to see the best of the New Zealand female players in action.
And folks, there is a big carrot lying in wait for those players that can take that big step up, because next year the Women's Rugby World Cup is coming to New Zealand, and you're going to be having games up in Northland, up in Whangarei.
Yes, we're going to be having 11. We're hosting 11 games. So how great would that be? You know, if we get a couple of girls from Northland in that Black Ferns team, you know, how special is that? I've always I only got to play twice or three times at home when I was in the Black Ferns. And my last year in 2003, we played the World 15 in Whangarei at Okara Park. And for me, that was a dream come true to actually play in front of my home crowd, because that was, you know, where I come from. So, no, I think it's really exciting for the ladies.
So, which is there a couple of ladies you think could make that step up? Who should we be looking out for from the Northern team this year?
Oh, the whole 22, Paul.
And that's the other point, folks. Look, if you haven't noticed that yet, we're not talking 23, we're talking 22, which means your prop replacement has to be able to from both sides, right?
Correct.
So we're going. This is back to old school way of things. How many of your props can do that? I mean, how difficult is that, managing a 22 rather than 23?
Oh, it's really difficult, because they only play one side. Like, they don't get to practice playing on both sides. And I know that up front is a very special place, and I always take my hat off to those three people up front. So I always thought, if you could play one side, you could play the other, but no, it's not that easy. So I sort of got a training a learning session from the props when I was in the Black Ferns, because I just thought, you play one side, you can play the other. But it is totally different. So it is going to be really difficult for us, because we haven't got that depth like the big city teams have, to actually have players who can play both sides. So we've been teaching girls now that if you're a prop, it's best to learn both sides, because that's going to most probably help you make teams now. You know, just another bow in your bag that you can play both sides. You'll most probably get selected over someone who can only play one side.
And in this game, I've heard people say, do that so you can get a more expensive or a bigger contract. In the women's side, it's about you'll make the squad. That. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking. Any other sort of things about the Northland rugby scene that you would like to let us know about that I haven't sort of asked about?
No, just for me, it was the real great community support we got as a team last year from everyone in Northland, like all the small communities, people were willing to help support us. So if there's anyone listening now and would love to help out the Cody this year, just please be in contact with the rugby union and we'll take it from there. But no, it's great.
So yes, so if you want to help out, and that's if that's financially through sponsorship, then I know that there will be opportunities there. If it's through supporting in other means, by whether you have a sports physio piece or massage piece that would help the girls out, that I'm sure that would be appreciated. Or if you've got a flash coach they could use for their trips to away games, I'm sure they'd appreciate that as well. So any way you'd like to do that, then please do reach out. And if you can't, then make sure you get to the games, because they're going to be crackers. As Cheryl says, you're going to see the best of the best in the world, because New Zealand are the reigning world champions, and you're going to see those players in your backyard. So get down to those games. I will be at some of them, and Stephen Harris, who's also from New Zealand Sports Radio, will be there at some of those games as well. So we'll be bringing you some coverage from the Farrell Palmer Cup once we get the fixtures. Cheryl, thank you so much for your time. And everyone, please do like the Facebook page or subscribe to the podcast. Just search for New Zealand Sports Radio.